When you meet a man who already has children, you do not meet only him. You meet the unseen world that stands behind him. You meet the weight of his past choices, the shadows of his fears, and the patterns he has never named. His smile may be warm, yet behind it moves a story he may not understand himself. A man may seek a new woman not because he is ready for her, but because he is fleeing from the tasks he left unfinished. When he enters her life too quickly, he brings the echoes of an old bond that has not healed. He does not arrive empty. He carries the cries of his past within him, even if he pretends not to hear them. I have seen men who longed for a fresh beginning, yet the old world still held them. They had not faced their own failures as fathers, nor their fears of being inadequate. Instead of entering their own darkness, they entered the arms of a new woman. She became a refuge, a soft place to hide from the truth they feared. Such a man may draw you close, not out of true vision, but out of need. He may give affection, not from strength, but from hunger. And when a person loves from hunger, they use without knowing they use. They take comfort, but they cannot yet give a life of depth. Their heart is divided between what they want and what they have avoided. A man who has not worked through his duties to his children often remains entangled in the past. The guilt he carries becomes a silent partner in the new bond. The shame he refuses to face becomes a shadow that follows you both. His feelings toward you may be true, yet they are tangled in threads he has not cut or repaired. If he has not made peace with the mother of his children, he may use you as a shield against her. You become the place where he hides from the storm he helped create. This is not love, it is escape. And a bond born from escape will one day collapse, for the soul does not bless what is built on avoidance. A man who has not faced himself as a father will often try to appear strong through charm, intensity, or devotion. But this strength is thin. When conflict arises, he retreats into silence, confusion, or blame. He may lean on you for comfort while giving little in return, for he is still wounded in the place where his children live within him. Such a man may use your warmth to soothe the ache he feels from his own failures. He may use your admiration to mend the cracks in his pride. He may use your presence to forget his loneliness. And though he does not intend to harm you, the effect is the same. You become the vessel for his unhealed life. He will not speak of it, yet he carries the knowledge of his responsibilities like a stone in his chest. This stone shapes his choices. It makes him unpredictable. You may feel close to him one day and far from him the next. This is the movement of a man at war with himself. His heart cannot settle, for it is pulled in two directions. The danger for you is not that he is unkind. The danger is that he is unfinished. You fall in love with the man he wishes to be, yet you must live with the man he is. And the man he is may still be bound to his past by threads you cannot see and cannot break. A man who is still solving his old life often cannot build a new one. He may make promises he cannot keep. He may dream aloud about a future he is not free to enter. His words come from longing, not from readiness. And longing alone does not build a life. It only draws others into its emptiness. The soul of a man is tested by how he carries his duties. If he avoids them, he weakens himself. If he denies them, he darkens his own path. And when he seeks a new woman before he has faced his old failures, he risks placing the weight of his unfinished life upon her shoulders. You cannot heal what his children represent. You cannot replace what he has lost. You cannot lift the burden he refuses to lift himself. If you try, you will be used not because he wishes to use you, but because he has not yet learned another way to live. Beware not of the man himself, but of the emptiness behind him. Beware of becoming the ground upon which he escapes his truth. Beware of giving your heart to a man who has not reclaimed his own, for until he stands whole within his duties, he cannot stand whole within your love. A man who has faced his past will come to you with clarity. A man who has healed will not hide behind your warmth. A man who is ready will not pull you into the shadows he has not walked himself. He will arrive with both feet in the present, and his love will not ask you to carry what is his to bear. Until that day, walk with care. The soul asks you to guard your own life as faithfully as you hope he guards his, and if he is meant to rise into truth, he will do so not through your sacrifice, but through his own awakening. When you meet a man who already has children, you meet far more than the person standing before you. You meet the world that shaped him. You meet his past joys and his past wounds. You meet the echoes of choices he made long ago and the silence of choices he avoided. A man does not walk alone when he carries children in his history. He walks with a shadow beside him, even if he smiles as though he is free. His smile may feel warm, yet behind it lives a story he rarely speaks. It is a story made of long nights, unspoken guilt, and memories he tries to bury. Some memories are tender moments when he felt needed and alive. Others are heavy moments when he failed, moments when he feared he was not enough. He brings all these moments with him, though he may not admit it to himself. You may believe you are meeting a man ready for a new beginning, but readiness does not come from desire. It comes from wholeness. A man may desire a woman deeply, yet carry a heart divided between past and present. When he has children, this division follows him everywhere. He may pretend he has left his old life behind, but the truth is that no soul escapes the weight of unfinished duty. Often such a man approaches a new woman not because he is strong, but because he is weary. He is tired from the roles he has played. He is tired from the mistakes he has not forgiven. He is tired from fighting battles he has not understood. You may see charm in him, but his charm is often a shield. It protects him from facing the parts of himself he has hidden behind responsibility or failure. You may feel his tenderness toward you, yet this tenderness may come from hunger rather than strength. A man can give affection with great intensity when his soul is tired. He reaches for warmth the way a cold man reaches for fire, not because he is ready to hold it, but because he longs to feel alive again. He wants relief, he wants softness, he wants comfort, but wanting comfort is not the same as being able to love. A man who has children carries an inner weight that does not leave him, even in moments of closeness. This weight is made of guilt for the times he was not present, shame for the times he acted from fear instead of care, confusion about his role, longing for the bond he once had, fear that he has broken something sacred. These emotions do not disappear simply because he meets someone new. They follow him quietly, like a shadow behind every step. You may sense the shadow before you can name it. One day he seems open, ready, alive. The next day he becomes distant, unsure, heavy. This change does not come from you. It comes from his divided heart. Part of him moves forward, drawn by hope. Another part remains rooted in the past, pulled by a truth he has not faced. His heart shifts because it is pulled in two directions. He may speak lightly about his past, as though it no longer matters, but the parts of a man he speaks lightly about are often the parts that hurt the most. When he talks about his children with a smile that seems thin, you must listen not to the smile but to the silence beneath it. Silence reveals more than words. Silence shows where the soul still trembles. You may believe that he has healed because he speaks calmly. Yet calmness is not always healing. It is often the mask placed over confusion. A man who has faced his past will speak with depth, not distance. He will speak as though he has lived through something and come out wiser. But a man who has not faced his past speaks as though he is passing through it with his eyes closed, hoping not to be touched. The danger lies not in the man himself, but in believing he is whole when he is not. You may fall in love with the man he wishes to be, rather than the man he is. You may see his kindness and imagine steadiness. You may see his affection and imagine readiness, but readiness cannot be imagined. It must be lived. And a man who has not faced the truth of his past is not yet living in the present. Such a man often enters a new bond from longing, not clarity. He longs for connection because he feels alone. He longs for closeness because he feels divided. He longs for a fresh start because his old life feels heavy. But longing, no matter how deep, cannot build a life. Longing pulls. It does not guide. It creates movement without direction, desire without grounding. You may feel drawn to his softness, yet softness without inner strength becomes dependence. You may feel moved by his vulnerability, yet vulnerability without awareness becomes confusion. You may feel touched by his affection, yet affection without inner clarity becomes a plea for help. His heart may reach toward you, but the heart that reaches may be trembling, not standing. A man who has children carries an unseen task. His soul is tied to the lives he helped create. He may feel tired of this bond, but he cannot escape it without wounding himself. When he enters a new relationship before he has taken responsibility for his past, the new bond becomes a hiding place. He rests in your warmth, not because he is ready, but because he is afraid. Afraid of facing his failures, afraid of disappointing his children, afraid of confronting the parts of himself he avoided, afraid of living a life that reflects his deeper truth. You cannot free him from these fears. You cannot untangle the threads that bind him. You cannot lift the weight he has carried for years. If you try, you become the ground on which he collapses. You become the place where he hides from himself. You become the vessel he pours his sorrow into, and slowly, without noticing it, you begin to carry his life on your shoulders. This is why meeting a man who has children requires deep care, not caution toward him, but caution toward the unseen world behind him. You must look at his actions, not only his words. Look at the steadiness of his presence. Look at the truthfulness of his choices. Look at how he speaks of responsibility. Look at how he speaks of his past. Look at how he behaves when the past knocks at his door. For the man who has faced himself will not hide behind your warmth. He will come to you with clear eyes. He will stand in the present without trembling. He will offer affection from strength, not hunger. But the man who has not faced himself will lean on you for comfort. He will retreat when conflict arises. He will speak of the future with longing, not commitment. He will move toward you not from clarity, but from escape. The soul does not bless escape, it blesses truth. You must see the difference. You must feel the difference. You must trust the difference. For until a man has met the weight he carries, he cannot meet you with a whole heart. He may want you, he may cherish you, he may dream of a life with you, but these dreams do not build a path. They only reveal his longing, and longing without truth cannot hold love. When a man has children, he also has a history that does not end when his relationship ends. Even if he speaks as though the past is finished, the past continues to breathe within him. It follows him into each new moment. It shapes his moods, his silences, his fears. And when he steps into your life, this unseen world steps with him. You may think you are meeting a man who has closed one chapter and opened another, but the soul does not move through life in such clean lines. The old chapter remains half-written, the ink has not dried. The emotions remain alive beneath the surface, even if he hides them. These emotions do not disappear simply because he wishes them gone. The first ghost he carries is the bond with the mother of his children. Even if they no longer love each other, even if the relationship ended in pain, the bond remains, for she is tied to him through the lives they brought into the world. This tie does not break. It changes shape, but it does not vanish. He may speak of her lightly, as though she no longer matters. But the way a man speaks lightly about someone often reveals the weight he cannot bear to face. If he speaks with bitterness, it shows wounds that have not healed. If he speaks with coldness, it shows feelings frozen inside him. If he speaks with avoidance, it shows fears he has not admitted. And if he speaks with too much gentleness, it may hide guilt he carries like a stone. No matter how he speaks, the past bond lives in him. The second ghost is the unresolved conflict between who he wanted to be as a father and who he became. Every man carries an image of the father he hoped he would be. And every man carries the truth of how he acted when life became difficult. These two images often do not match. The gap between them becomes a quiet wound. You may see this wound in the sadness that appears in his eyes without warning. You may hear it in the way his voice changes when he speaks of his children. You may feel it in the heaviness that comes over him when their names are mentioned. He may try to cover this wound with new affection, but new affection cannot heal the old wound. Only truth can. The third ghost is the guilt he does not speak of. Guilt for the moments when he withdrew, for the days he did not show up, for the anger he expressed, for the promises he broke. A father's guilt is a heavy shadow. It follows him into every new bond. You may feel this guilt even when he hides it. It shows itself in his sudden quietness. It appears in the way he avoids certain questions. It shapes his fear of closeness, for he fears disappointing you the same way he believes he disappointed his children. The fourth ghost is the memory of the home he once had. Even if that home was filled with conflict, it held meaning. It held a story. When a man leaves such a story, a part of him remains inside it. He may long for a new life, yet feel pulled toward the old one by threads he does not understand. This pull is not always love. It is sometimes regret, sometimes grief, sometimes unfinished responsibility, sometimes fear of beginning again. You may sense this inner pull even if he denies it. It appears in the way he becomes distant without reason. It appears in the way he grows restless after moments of closeness. It appears in the way he looks away as though someone invisible is calling him back. The fifth ghost is his fear of failing again. Once a man has failed in a relationship that produced children, he fears repeating his mistakes. He fears hurting someone new. He fears hurting his children further. He fears losing control of the story. This fear does not disappear when he meets you. It grows stronger, for the closer he feels to you, the more he fears the consequences of his desire. You may think his hesitation means lack of interest, but hesitation often comes from fear, not from lack of feeling. The sixth ghost is the unresolved bond between you and the child's mother. Even if you never meet her, you are tied to her through him. Her pain, her anger, her expectations, her wounds, they shape him, and what shapes him inevitably touches you. He may protect you from this at first, but no man can protect a woman from a past he has not faced. If he avoids conflict with her, you inherit the consequences of that avoidance. If he clings to anger toward her, you stand in the shadow of that anger. If he hides guilt toward her, you are asked to soothe it without knowing why. The seventh ghost is the weight of unfinished duty. A man's duties to his children are sacred. If he has not fulfilled them, the soul holds him accountable in silence. This accountability appears as restlessness, as heaviness, as an inability to remain fully present with you. For part of him lives in the past, trying to repair what he broke, even if he never speaks of the attempt. This invisible labor drains him. It makes him unpredictable. It creates emotional storms he cannot explain, and though he may reach for you in these storms, you cannot calm the winds that rise from his own soul. The eighth ghost is the symbolic mother he carries within. Every man holds an inner image of the mother of his children, not the woman herself, but the symbolic figure she represents. This figure holds his guilt, his disappointment, his fear, and his longing. When you come into his life, this inner figure does not disappear. It stands behind him, shaping his expectations, his reactions, his decisions. He may compare you to her without realizing it. He may fear that you will hurt him as he felt hurt, or he may hope you will save him from the mother he failed. These ghosts move quietly, but their presence shapes everything. You must understand that none of these ghosts are your responsibility. They are the remnants of a story he lived before you arrived. They belong to him, they follow him, they call to him. They demand from him what only he can give. If he has not faced them, they will stand between you and any future he imagines. You cannot love him enough to silence them. You cannot care for him enough to weaken them. You cannot sacrifice yourself enough to replace them. But you can see clearly. You can look directly at the truth of his inner world. You can feel the weight he carries. You can hear the tension in his silence. You can sense the past moving beneath his words. And you can choose not to carry what is not yours, for love built on blindness collapses. Love built on truth transforms. If he is meant to rise, he will face these ghosts before he tries to build a life with you. He will address the wounds he left behind. He will repair the bonds he broke. He will speak with honesty. He will act with clarity. He will not enter your life while still fleeing from his own. Until then, you must guard your own soul. For a man haunted by ghosts cannot yet stand in the light beside you. There is a wound inside every man who has children and feels he has failed them. This wound does not fade with time. It does not soften simply because life moves forward. It remains alive under the surface, waiting for the moment when he allows himself to feel it. Most men do not face this wound. They bury it. They hide it behind duty, silence, or pride. yet the wound continues to shape them from within. You may see only the man before you, his gentleness, his charm, his longing, his desire to connect. But beneath these qualities lives a place he has not entered, a place filled with regret, fear, and confusion, a place he has built walls around. This wound forms on the day he realizes he was not the father he hoped he would be. It forms the moment he sees his child look at him with disappointment. It forms when he walks away from a home that once held his life. It forms when he feels the gap between the father he is and the father he imagined. These moments do not disappear. They carve themselves into his soul, and though he may look whole on the outside, a part of him remains fractured. When he enters your life, this fracture enters with him. You may feel it even before he speaks of it. You may sense a heaviness in him that does not match the moment. You may feel a sadness that rises suddenly in his eyes. You may notice he becomes serious when speaking of his children, yet avoids the deeper truth of his heart. He may tell you the story lightly, as though he has accepted everything. But a man tells his story lightly when it is still too painful to face. He may speak of the separation with calm words, but calmness is often the mask that hides chaos. He may describe his role as a father with pride, but pride can cover deep shame. He may speak of his children with affection, yet feel distant from them inside. These contradictions reveal the presence of the wound. You may believe your warmth can heal him. You may believe your love can soothe his pain. You may believe your presence can help him reclaim his strength. Yet this wound cannot be healed from the outside. It is the kind of wound that demands inner truth, not emotional comfort. If you try to heal him, you will become the ground where he collapses. You will take on the weight of his sorrow without having the power to lift it. You will feel responsible for easing the ache that does not belong to you. A man's wound as a father is sacred. It belongs to his soul, and the soul will not allow another to do this work for him. You may notice that he leans on you at moments of quiet. He may rest his head against your shoulder. He may seek your tenderness more than your words. He may become softer in your presence, as though he has found shelter. But shelter is not healing, it is rest. And rest can become dangerous if it becomes a way to avoid truth. He may use your kindness to soothe the pain he does not face. He may use your stability to forget the instability inside him. He may use your love to hide from the love he fears he cannot give. This does not mean he is cruel. It means he is wounded. A wounded man seeks warmth without realizing he is seeking escape. There are signs of this. You may notice that he only opens up when he feels broken. You may notice that he grows distant after moments of closeness. You may notice that he shows affection when he feels weak, but not when he feels strong. These patterns reveal that his emotions toward you come from need rather than wholeness, and need, though powerful, cannot sustain a bond. When his wound rises to the surface, he may behave in ways that confuse you. He may be tender one moment and close the next. He may express deep feeling, then retreat into silence. He may seem present yet far away. These shifts do not come from you. They come from the inner conflict he carries. He wants to feel whole in your presence, yet he fears the pain that closeness may reveal. The wound often hides behind charm. A man who feels broken inside may try to appear strong, confident, or unshaken. He may offer affection with ease, as though nothing troubles him. But charm is sometimes the armor of the wounded. It keeps others from seeing the truth. It keeps him from seeing it as well. You may think that his devotion to you shows readiness, but devotion that rises from emptiness does not point toward the future. It points toward relief. When you become the one who softens his pain, he may cling to you. He may speak of hope, of new beginnings, of a life he wants to build. But these words do not come from clarity. They come from longing. And longing without truth is not strength. It is avoidance. If you carry his wound, you will feel its symptoms in your own heart. You will feel sudden heaviness without knowing why. You will feel drained after comforting him. You will feel anxious when he grows distant. You will feel responsible for his emotions. You will begin to lose the ground beneath your own feet. This is the danger. You begin to heal him by wounding yourself. Your soul becomes tired because it carries what it cannot transform. Your tenderness becomes overused, your strength stretched thin. And slowly, you lose the clarity you once had. You cannot take the place of his children. You cannot fill the space of his failures. You cannot erase the sorrow he feels when he looks at his past. You cannot be the healer of the man he once was. Only he can meet that man. Only he can face that pain. Only he can repair the broken ties. Only he can reclaim himself as a father. Your task is different. Your task is to see clearly without losing yourself in his darkness. Your task is to remain whole while he struggles with his fragmentation. If he chooses truth, he will stop using your presence as escape. He will face his wound directly. He will examine his failures without hiding from them. He will return to his duties without resentment. He will speak honestly without shifting blame. In that moment, he becomes capable of love. Love is not born from need. It is born from clarity, from responsibility, from courage, from the soul that has faced itself. But if he avoids his wound, you must understand that the bond cannot grow, for love cannot rise in a heart that still hides from itself. When you meet a man with children, you meet a man who has known responsibility. But responsibility alone does not create maturity. Maturity comes when he faces the inner truth of how he carried those responsibilities. You cannot heal the wound in him. You can only see it, understand it, and refuse to carry it. For the moment you try to heal his wound, you abandon your own soul, and the soul asks you to remain whole, not to become the vessel for another person's past. This is the truth you must hold with care. He must reclaim himself before he can offer himself to you. And when he does, if he does, he will come to you with a heart no longer divided, a life no longer fleeing, a soul no longer lost. He will come not as a wounded man seeking comfort, but as a whole man seeking love. There comes a moment when the wound he carries begins to slide silently onto your shoulders. It is not something he plans. It is not something he speaks aloud. It happens quietly, almost invisibly. One day you feel light, and the next you feel a heaviness that does not belong to you. This heaviness is the burden of his unfinished life making its way into your own. When a man has not faced his responsibilities as a father, the weight of those responsibilities does not disappear. It moves, it shifts, it settles into the spaces where he seeks comfort, and if you become that comfort, the weight moves toward you. You do not choose it. The soul simply follows the path of least resistance. The burden seeks the one who softens it. At first, you may not notice this movement. You may believe you are simply being supportive. You may think you are being patient. You may imagine you are helping him find peace. Yet slowly, quietly, your inner world begins to change. You begin to feel tired in ways you cannot explain. You begin to feel anxious when he grows distant. You begin to sense a tension in him that you try to calm. You begin to feel responsible for his moods. You begin to carry emotions that are not your own. This is how his unfinished duties become your burden. A man who has not faced the past becomes unpredictable. One day he is warm and giving. The next day he is guarded and silent. He may pull you close with intensity and then withdraw without explanation. You stand in the space between these movements, trying to understand what changed, but nothing changed in you. The change occurred in the hidden world behind him. When he feels overwhelmed by his past, he may turn to you for peace. He may seek refuge in your presence. You become the place where his divided heart tries to rest. But a heart that is at war with itself cannot rest for long. You may find that you adjust yourself to his moods. When he is heavy, you soften your voice. When he is restless, you try to soothe him. When he is distant, you try to draw him back. These attempts feel natural in the moment, but over time, they begin to drain your soul. You are not meant to carry his unfinished story. Your heart is not the home for his unresolved past. When he does not face his duties to his children, those duties begin to shape your bond. You may feel tension when he speaks of them. You may feel excluded, uncertain, or confused. You may sense that he feels guilt but does not know how to speak of it. This guilt becomes a silent presence between you. You feel it in the way he hesitates. You feel it in the way he over-explains or under-explains. You feel it in the way he tries to appear whole while his soul remains divided. His unfinished responsibilities do not stay in his world alone. They spill into yours. They shape the rhythm of your connection. They shape the depth of his presence. They shape the closeness he can offer. For a man cannot offer full presence when part of him lives in a life he has not resolved. You may notice this in his eyes. One moment he looks at you with warmth. Moment his gaze drifts away, as though he is seeing something far behind him. This drifting gaze reveals that his soul is still caught between what he lost and what he hopes to gain. You cannot follow him into that distance. If you try, you will lose your own center. You will begin to shape yourself around his sorrow. You will begin to adjust your needs so he does not retreat. You will begin to quiet your truth so he does not feel overwhelmed. Slowly, you lose the shape of your own life. The burden also falls upon you in subtle roles you never intended to play. You may become the listener he cannot speak to his children about. You may become the comfort he never learned to give himself. You may become the place where he hides his guilt. You may become the one who tries to create balance in a life that is not yours to balance. These roles drain you because they are not your truth. They are the truth he refuses to face. The man who carries unfinished duties often believes he is protecting you. He hides his conflict so you will not worry. He smiles over his fears. He avoids speaking of his past pain. He tries to appear strong despite his inner fragmentation. But hiding does not protect you. Hiding places the weight into your body without your awareness. Your soul feels the tension he refuses to name. Your intuition senses the story he does not tell. Your heart tries to make space for what he cannot bear. This is how emotional burden becomes psychic burden. A man who is at war with himself will unconsciously pull the woman he loves into that war. Not through malice, but through helplessness. You may find yourself trying to be understanding, trying to be patient, trying to hold the connection steady while he moves in and out of it. But steadiness cannot come from one side. It must rise from both souls. When you carry the burden alone, you begin to lose the joy that first brought you close. You begin to feel the strain of a bond that requires more of you than you can give. You may even start to believe that if you love him enough, he will face his past. But love cannot force awakening. Love cannot dissolve guilt. Love cannot erase fear. Love cannot replace responsibility. Only the soul of the man himself can take that step. When you try to carry his duties, you rob him of the chance to grow. You take on the role that belongs to his own inner journey, and your heart breaks under the weight of a life that is not yours. This is why you must see clearly what happens when you enter the life of a man who has not finished the life behind him. You are not meant to be the ground where he lays down his brokenness. You are not meant to be the shadow that holds his hidden fears. You are not meant to be the medicine for a wound that belongs to his soul. Your task is not to fix him. Your task is to remain yourself. When you stand in your clarity, the truth reveals itself. You begin to see whether he seeks healing or refuge. You begin to see whether he faces truth or hides behind affection. You begin to see whether he moves toward wholeness or turns toward escape. A bond built on escape cannot endure the light of truth. But a bond built on truth cannot be shaken by the shadows of the past. You must ask yourself, does he face his duties with honesty? Does he speak of his past with depth, not denial? Does he take ownership of his actions? Does he grow stronger when conflict arises? Does he stand in his responsibilities even when it is painful? If the answer is yes, then he approaches you from a place of truth. If the answer is no, then the burden he carries will become your burden until you lay it down. Do not fear seeing the truth. The soul always rewards clarity. It always protects the one who refuses to abandon herself. You can love a man with depth, but you cannot carry his unfinished world. And if he is meant to walk beside you, he will first walk into his past and reclaim the parts of himself he left there. Only then can he stand before you with a heart that is whole and a love that can last. There is a point in this story where the man begins to dream aloud. He speaks of hope. He speaks of new life. He speaks of a future that feels bright and soft. His words may warm you. They may touch something within you that longs for closeness. Yet you must understand this. A man can speak beautifully of a new beginning long before he is free to create one. His dream does not always rise from truth. Sometimes it rises from escape. A man who has not faced his old life cannot yet build a new one. His longing for a fresh start may feel sincere, but longing is not the same as readiness. Longing is the soul crying for relief. Readiness is the soul standing in truth. These two states look similar from a distance, yet they are very different. One leads toward freedom, the other leads toward illusion. You may hear him speak of how he wants to leave the past behind. He may say he is tired of conflict. He may say he wishes for peace. He may say, "You feel like the life he always wanted." These words feel tender, but tenderness without clarity becomes a promise without form. He may tell you he has never felt this way before. He may say you give him hope. He may say your presence feels like a new beginning, but new beginnings cannot be born from the ruins of unfinished endings. A seed cannot sprout in soil that still holds the roots of what came before. When he speaks of the future with longing, listen not only to what he says, but to what he avoids. If he speaks of you, yet never speaks of his past truthfully, his dream is built on silence. If he speaks of a life together, yet rarely speaks of his children, his dream is built on escape. If he speaks of hope, yet cannot speak of responsibility, his dream is built on air. You may notice that his dreams come with a strange softness. He speaks of the future as though it floats in front of him like a picture. But this picture does not contain the real world, not his duties, not his guilt, not the mother of his children, not the wounds he carries. This picture is a fantasy, and fantasy is the soul's attempt to avoid the pain of the present. When a man has not healed, his dreams become a hiding place. They are not direction, they are refuge. They are not vision, they are escape wrapped in beauty. You may feel the pull of these dreams, for they touch your own longing, but you must see them clearly, for if you confuse his fantasy with readiness, you will step into a life built on sand. The illusion of a new beginning appears in many forms. Sometimes it appears as sudden affection, sometimes as deep conversation, sometimes as intense closeness, sometimes as quiet promises whispered during moments of tenderness. But true beginnings do not whisper. True beginnings stand on truth. They do not rise from longing alone. They rise from a man who has walked through his own darkness and returned with courage. He may imagine building a life with you, but imagination is not enough. He must have the strength to face the storm he left behind. He must have the honesty to confront the wounds he carries. He must have the clarity to admit where he failed. He must have the maturity to take responsibility. If he has not done these things, his dream of a new life with you is not a future. It is a shelter. And if you step into that shelter, you will one day become the roof that collapses under the weight of his unhealed life. He may tell you he wants peace, but peace that comes from avoidance is not peace. It is numbness. It is stillness before the storm returns. He may tell you he wants simplicity, but simplicity built on denial becomes chaos when truth appears. He may tell you he wants closeness, but closeness without honesty becomes suffocation. You may notice that the dreams he paints brighten his eyes in the moment, yet vanish in the next. This is because hope without truth cannot hold shape. It flickers like a candle held in trembling hands. Sometimes he will act as though he has left the past behind. He may say he is starting fresh. He may insist that the old life no longer touches him. But if his voice grows tense when he speaks of his children, if his body stiffens when the mother of his children is mentioned, if he avoids the parts of his history that still hurt, then the past has not loosened its hold. The man who is free does not speak as though he is running. He speaks as though he has returned to himself. You may feel that he reaches for you in search of something bright. But the brightest longing often comes from the deepest darkness. A man who has lived in heaviness clings fiercely to anything that feels like light. Your presence may feel like that light. He may come toward you with intensity because he is tired of the shadows behind him. But intensity is not love. Intensity is the cry of a soul that is desperate for relief. Love comes from clarity, from stillness, from responsibility, from inner peace. You may notice that after dreaming aloud, he becomes quiet. This quietness is not strength, it is fear. Fear that the dream will break. Fear that the truth will rise. Fear that he cannot be the man he hopes to be. He may try to protect you from his fears by speaking beautifully of the future, but beauty without truth becomes a net that entangles both of you. The illusion of a new beginning often lasts until reality knocks. and reality always knocks. Reality arrives when his children need him. Reality arrives when guilt resurfaces. Reality arrives when his past demands attention. Reality arrives when the mother of his children appears in conflict. Reality arrives when he must choose between avoiding pain and facing truth. In that moment, the dream he held with you begins to crack. A dream that cracks reveals the truth beneath it, and the truth is this: he cannot build a life with you before he has rebuilt himself. You may feel sadness when the dream fades. You may feel confusion when he withdraws. You may feel heaviness when he becomes distant. But this heaviness does not come from you. It comes from the collapse of the illusion. You must see this collapse as a blessing, for illusion can only bring suffering. Truth brings clarity. Truth brings freedom. Truth brings the chance to choose with open eyes. If he is meant to rise into truth, he will turn back toward his past, not to dwell in it, but to face it. He will take responsibility. He will speak honestly. He will walk into the rooms he once avoided. He will carry the weight that belongs to him. He will untangle the knots he tied. He will complete the duties he left undone. And when he does, the dream he spoke of will no longer be a dream. It will become something real, clear, grounded, alive. A bond cannot be built in escape. A bond can only be built in truth. You must guard your heart from the man who dreams too soon. You must remain steady and clear, the face of his longing. You must see his hope without losing sight of your own. You must protect your soul from becoming the place where he hides from himself. For the soul does not bless beginnings that rise from running. It blesses beginnings built on truth, even when truth requires pain. Only a man who has faced his past can stand with both feet in the present and offer you a future that will not crumble beneath your love. There comes a turning point in every man's life when he can no longer escape the truth of who he has become. This turning point arrives quietly, yet with great force. It comes not from others, but from within. The soul tests him. It places before him the weight of his past, the truth of his failures, and the reality of his responsibilities. If he refuses this test, he remains divided. If he accepts it, he begins his transformation. A man who has children cannot hide from this test. His duties are carved into his being. They live in the deepest part of past, his soul. He may try to pretend that he can move forward without looking back, but the soul does not allow such movement. The soul demands honesty. It demands courage. It demands that he face the life he helped create. He may wish to forget the past, but forgetting is not healing. Forgetting is only silence, and silence grows heavy over time. The truth waits beneath it, pressing upward like a stone beneath water. You may see signs that the test has begun. The man becomes restless. He grows quiet without knowing why. He feels guilt rise in moments when he should feel joy. He grows uncertain even in the warmth of your closeness. This uncertainty is the soul calling him toward responsibility. When a man avoids his duties, he weakens the foundation of his own spirit. He does not become free, he becomes divided. Part of him wants to move forward with you. Part of him remains trapped in the life he has not repaired. This division creates confusion, it creates fear, it creates a kind of trembling inside him. He may not show it outwardly, but you feel it in his behavior, his silences, his sudden distance. A man who avoids responsibility eventually avoids himself. And when a man avoids himself, he cannot offer himself to another. The soul tests him by bringing his past to the surface. He may receive a message from his child that shakes him. He may feel sudden sorrow when he hears a familiar name. He may sense fear when thinking of the mother of his children. The test begins when he can no longer pretend that the past has no claim on his heart. This test is not punishment, it is transformation. The soul does not desire his suffering, it desires his truth. You may notice that he tries to distract himself with affection. He may draw you close. He may speak tenderly. He may try to lose himself in your presence. But affection cannot silence the test. No closeness can remove the truth he must face. Even as he holds you, he feels the weight of his responsibilities pressing against the edges of his heart. If he continues to run, the weight grows heavier. The bond between you becomes strained. He becomes unpredictable. His longing becomes mixed with fear. His tenderness becomes mixed with guilt. His desire becomes mixed with shame. This mixture is the sign that he is failing the test. But if he chooses to face his duties, you will see the change. He becomes more grounded. He speaks with clarity instead of excuses. He stops hiding behind charm. He stops seeking escape. He stops using hope as a replacement for truth. His voice becomes steady. His eyes become clear. His presence becomes firm. A man who accepts the test begins to reclaim himself. He may have to face painful truths. He may have to admit where he failed. He may have to rebuild the bond with his children from a place of humility rather than pride. He may have to speak honestly with the mother of his children without running from conflict. Each of these steps strengthens him. Each step softens the shadow within him. Each step brings him closer to the man he hoped he would become. The soul does not reward comfort, it rewards courage. And a man who takes responsibility begins to feel a quiet power inside himself. Not the false power of avoidance, not the fragile power of charm, but the deep, enduring power of a man who has met his own truth. This inner power changes the way he approaches you. He no longer comes with trembling. He no longer comes with need. He no longer comes seeking refuge. He comes with clarity. He comes with steadiness. He comes with intention. Such a man does not use you to escape his old life. He transforms his old life so he can enter yours without shadow. You may see this transformation in the way he speaks of his children. He no longer avoids their names. He speaks with warmth and honesty. He takes actions that reflect care instead of guilt. He becomes present instead of distant. You may see it in the way he speaks of their mother. He no longer speaks with bitterness, nor with fear. He speaks with respect, as one who has taken ownership of his own part in the story. You may see it in the way he treats you. He no longer hides his inner conflict. He tells you the truth, even when it is painful. He stops leaning on your tenderness as a substitute for his own strength. He begins to stand beside you, not behind you. This is the sign that he is passing the test. Every soul is shaped by its choices. A man is shaped not by what he desires, but by what he takes responsibility for. If he avoids responsibility, he shrinks. He weakens. He becomes restless and divided. He becomes afraid of himself. And no woman, no matter how loving, can build a life with a man who fears his own soul. But if he accepts responsibility for his children, for his past, for his failures, for his truth, he grows. He becomes whole. He becomes steady. He becomes capable of real love. You must see this distinction clearly. A man is not defined by his longing for you. He is defined by his willingness to face the parts of himself that stand between him and love. It is not his affection that reveals his readiness. It is his courage. It is his honesty. It is his relationship to the life he created before you arrived. When he passes this inner test, the bond between you changes. It becomes grounded. It becomes real. It becomes something that can survive the weight of reality. But if he refuses the test, the bond becomes fragile. It becomes tangled in his guilt. It becomes darkened by his avoidance. It becomes a place where both souls feel lost. You cannot take the test for him. You cannot solve his past. You cannot carry his duties. You cannot quiet his guilt. You cannot repair his story. He must choose truth with his own hands. A man who chooses truth will someday choose you with the same strength. A man who avoids truth will someday avoid you with the same fear. The soul reveals everything. And in this part of Luktur, the journey, it reveals the truth that determines the rest. A man cannot love you fully until he becomes whole within himself. Not perfect, not heroic, not unchanged, but whole. Now that you have seen the weight he carries, the shadows that follow him, and the test his soul must face, the question turns toward you. For the greatest danger in loving such a man is not that he will fail you. The greater danger is that you will fail yourself. You may give your heart before he has the strength to hold it. You may carry his burdens before he has carried his own. You may offer your soul to a man whose soul is still divided. Your first task is to remain awake. Do not let longing blind you. Do not let tenderness silence your truth. Do not let your hope rise faster than his readiness. For when you fall in love with what a man might become, you risk losing sight of the man he is. A man who has children and has not faced his past is still caught in a web of unresolved threads. These threads pull at him, they shape him, they weigh on him, and if you walk too close, they wrap around you as well. You may believe your love can steady him, but love that replaces responsibility becomes a prison for both souls. Your compassion must not turn into self-sacrifice. Your warmth must not turn into rescuing. Your tenderness must not turn into carrying. Your hope must not turn into denial. The soul asks you to see the truth, not the dream. You must see whether he is facing his life or avoiding it, whether he stands in honesty or hides in longing, whether he grows in responsibility or shrinks from it, whether he climbs toward courage or falls into escape. For if he approaches you from escape, the bond becomes a shadow. If he approaches you from fear, the bond becomes a burden. If he approaches you from longing alone, the bond becomes empty. But if he approaches you from truth, you will feel the difference. Truth carries weight. Truth carries steadiness. Truth carries clarity. Truth carries the kind of strength that does not need to take from you in order to stand. Your second task is to keep your own boundaries. A woman without boundaries becomes the ground where a man lays his confusion. A woman with boundaries becomes the mirror that reveals his truth. Your boundaries are not walls, they are the shape of your soul. They protect your inner life so that you do not lose yourself trying to save another. A man who is ready will respect your boundaries. He will not push for closeness you cannot give. He will not ask you to repair the wounds he carries. He will not expect you to solve the conflicts he created. He will not place his guilt in your hands. A man who is not ready will pull at you with his hunger. He will draw near when he feels lonely and withdraw when he feels afraid. He will ask for reassurance instead of taking responsibility. He will lean on your strength instead of building his own. You must see these movements clearly. You must not mistake chaos for passion. You must not confuse longing with depth. You must not believe that intensity means truth. Intensity often comes from a divided soul. Truth comes from wholeness. Your third task is to protect your inner world. You must not allow his past to become your landscape. You must not let his guilt shape your days. You must not let his fears become your fears. You must not let his shadows dim your light. If you feel yourself shrinking so he can feel safe, you are abandoning your own soul. If you feel yourself bending so he can feel strong, you are carrying a weight not meant for you. If you feel your joy fading because his turmoil fills the space, you are living inside his unfinished story. Your soul must not become the home for his unhealed past. Your fourth task is to ask the right question. Not does he love me? Not does he want me? Not will he choose me? These questions come from longing. The true question is this: has he chosen himself? Has he chosen truth over comfort? Has he chosen responsibility over escape? Has he chosen courage over fear? Has he chosen to face the life he created before asking to enter yours? For only a man who has chosen himself is capable of choosing a woman with depth. A man who has not chosen himself will choose from hunger, from fear, from confusion, and these choices do not lead to love, they lead to collapse. Your fifth task is to let time reveal the truth. A man who is truly ready remains steady over time. He does not rise in passion only to sink the next day. He does not speak of the future while avoiding the past. He does not promise closeness while hiding his wounds. Time reveals whether his soul is growing or hiding, whether his past is healed or merely silenced, whether his longing is grounded or drifting. You must not rush the unfolding. You must let his truth appear. For truth always reveals itself. It rises slowly, like dawn. It comes quietly, like breath. It appears when the illusions fall away. Your sixth task is to choose yourself. This does not mean turning from love. It means standing in your center so love does not consume you. To choose yourself is to stay connected to your inner voice. It is to trust the wisdom that rises in your chest. It is to listen to the soft warnings in your body. It is to honor the part of you that senses danger before the mind names it. To choose yourself is to refuse to enter a life where you must carry what is not yours. It is to refuse a bond that asks you to shrink. It is to refuse a story that demands you hide your truth. If he is meant for you, your strength will not push him away, it will awaken his own. A man who is ready is not frightened by your boundaries. He is clarified by them. A man who is ready is not threatened by your truth. He is steadied by it. A man who is ready does not ask you to carry his life. He brings his life with both hands open. Your seventh and final task is to recognize the sign of readiness. He stands before you with nothing to hide and nothing to escape. His past is not perfect, but it is faced. His wounds are not gone, but they are owned. His duties are not easy, but they are honored. He does not use you as a refuge. He does not use you as a dream. He does not use you as a way out. He comes to you as a man who has returned to himself. When he reaches for you, then you can trust the movement. For it does not come from longing or fear or fantasy. It comes from truth. And truth is the only ground on which love can stand without shaking.